In case you didn't know, they are Sotho people in Zimbabwe. And it's one of our 16 official languages in the constitution, and Zimbabwe's first president, Canon Banana, was a Msotho. Sotho people are mainly found in Gwanda, but you can also find them in Wulilima, Mangwe, Kezi, Beitbridge, Shashe, Mashwingo, Masera, and Sioka. The Sotho that is spoken in Zimbabwe is similar to the Sotho spoken in Musina and the surrounding areas in Limpopo. Apparently, it's sort of like the Gubo dialect of Sesotho, but then it's also very similar to Silobeto. So because Sotho people decided to be Dora the Explorer, there were 3 phases in which they came to Zimbabwe. The first was from the 1700s to the 1820s. This group of Sotho people are the Babirwa. And then the second phase are those who came with Mzilikazi, since this man was collecting tribes like Infinity Stones or Pokemon cards. Then the third phase were missionaries, and those that came with the pioneer column, aka the people who colonized Zimbabwe. The Babira are a Sotho group that come from the Transvaal area in present-day South Africa, who migrated to Zimbabwe and can be found in parts of Botswana in the Bobirwa district, I think. They speak Sibirwa, which is a dialect of Northern Sotho. The Babirwa people are those that are found in Gwanda, and they arrived in Zimbabwe before Mzilikazi. The Babirwa Sothos lived in a place called Nareng in the Transvaal between 1510 to 1590. From Nareng, they migrated to present-day Zimbabwe, where they were subjected to the rule of the Mambo chiefs. Because they were unhappy under the Mambo, they backtracked to the Transvaal in 1710, but on their way there, some settled in southwestern Zimbabwe, in, for example, the area like Gwanda, while others went to eastern Botswana. In the Gwanda area, Sotho people found the local Kalanga people who spoke the Jahunda dialect. So more Pedi Sotho groups migrated to Zimbabwe during Umfecane before Mzilikazi. And apart from the Gwanda area, you could also find them in Nkezi. So Kezi was actually the word Khetsi, which means bag, but then it was like Ndebeleized to become Kezi. According to Zimbabwe's most reputable historian, Patisa Nyati, the Beti people were related to the Kalanga people of Zimbabwe, and when they came to Zim during Umfecane with Sotho people, they assimilated with the Kalanga people, and an example of Zimbabwean Betis who assimilated with Kalanga's other Kupe clan. So these Beti reconnected with their Kalanga roots, whereas the Babira retained their Sotho identity. So those are the majority of the Sotho people that you will find in Gwanda. But not all Zimbabwean Sothos are Babirwa. The ones that you can find in Beitbridge all the way to Manama and surrounding areas are originally from northern Transvaal and were displaced by the Boers. Now on to the second significant migration, those that came with Mzilikazi. So as we know from my video about Zimbabwe and Ndebeles, Mzilikazi was collecting tribes to assimilate into his Ndebele nation in Zimbabwe. So the first tribe that he interacted with on his way to Zimbabwe was the Sotho people. They are the ones who named us Mandebele, with the word Matebele, which means the people with long shields. And so these were assimilated into Ndebele communities, Zimbabwe, which is why Zimbabwean Sothos and Zimbabwean Ndebeles do have strong ties. So the Basotho and Botswana, who were brought by Mzilikazi, constituted the Enhla northern group of the Ndebele state, aka those who are not of Nguni origin. The Sothos that came with Mzilikazi adopted totems as surnames, and for example, the Ndlovus, Nyati, Sibanda, Moyo, Dube, Mdlongwa are in fact Sotho. So a lot of Sotho people are mistaken for Ndebeles. Then the last group of Basotho that came to Zimbabwe were those that came as missionaries. So Basotho were some of the first Southern Africans to be converted into Christians, and so they were the first choice as missionaries. So white missionaries wanted to establish churches in areas like Mashwingo in Zimbabwe. Sotho missionaries and evangelists like Lucas Mokwele eventually established the vibrant Sotho communities in Gutu, Simuto, and Bikita. The Sotho missionaries came from Lesotho and South Africa as well. I couldn't find as much academic literature as I would have liked. So if Zimbabwean Sutus want to correct anything I said, feel free to. But anyway, fuck colonial borders, because the Sotho community extended from Lesotho, South Africa, Botswana to Zimbabwe until colonial borders were put to divide us. Even though Sotho people always migrated back and forth freely. I wish we could remember that in African culture, umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu. We were family, but then now we've become so obsessed with nationalities that were forced on us by colonizers. Entire communities were destroyed by colonial borders. But anyway, comment what tribe you'd like me to do next.